Well, welcome everybody to today's Empowered Women's Coaching Call. I am Kira Love. I was going to say Kira Westwig. I'm not getting used to this new name business. I think this is the first time I've remembered to say it. My name's Kira Love, formerly Kira Westwig, and this is my beautiful friend, Jess Schembri. And yeah, I'm always excited to have you on, Jess, because you are someone who's very dear to me. But, you know, the last few years we've gone on a huge personal development journey ourselves, but also together, and we've really been able to support and watch each other transform, which is really, really cool. So today what we're going to be talking about is how to really level up and raise your vibration, because everything that you're putting out there is what you are attracting to you. And, you know, we have certainly leveled up our lives and our relationships, you know, over the past 3 to 5 years. And it really is because we're taking responsibility for how we show up every day and who we want to be. And because of that, we're attracting far better things, far more greatness into our lives. And, you know, it's something that each and every one of us can do if that's how you want to show up. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel to catch up on past recordings. I get message daily, where should I start with my personal development? Everything that I've used to heal myself and work on myself, I'm sharing on these calls with people like Jess. So go and catch up on those on the YouTube. You can join the Empowered Women's group as well, where you can see past recordings. Also, I just wanted to announce the winner of last week's competition of this beautiful book, and that is Opulent Mum on Instagram, which is Jana. If you can message me your address, I'm going to send you out this beautiful book along with, I don't have my one here, but one of the shakers, Empowered Women Shakers as well. I'm going to run this competition again, so all you need to do to win a copy, potentially win a copy of this book, is to share today's recording so we can help inspire more women out there. Tag myself, tag Jess, share it over on Instagram on your stories, as well as over on Facebook, and I will draw someone out next week who will win a beautiful prize pack. So where should we get started? I think I'm just going to intro you and then hand it over to you, Jess, or intro the subject. You know, we really try not to get too foo-foo on everyone, and you and I are not really that foo-foo. Like, you know, I'm definitely spiritual, but like we like to keep it real as well. So no matter where you're at with your spirituality and your beliefs, let's put that aside and let's just talk science for a second. It is scientifically proven that everything in the universe, including yourself, is simply energy, and all energies are vibrating at different frequencies, and like attracts like. So whatever frequency you're putting out there, you're attracting to you. And an easy way really to show this is how you are attracted to some people, usually like-minded people, and you're repelled by others. And so, you know, whatever vibration you're emitting is going to determine what you're attracting to you, but also what you are attracted to. So if you don't want to attract certain things into your life, it's important to really be conscious of your mindset and the energy that you're putting out there. And really just be aware of what you're signaling into your life. And yeah, when you come to realize this, then you really start to become more natural and instinctual and harmonious, you know, with your state of being and what it is that you want to create. You take responsibility for being this master creator. You realize that you really are a super attractor. This is really cool, actually, that I've been giving away this book. It's kind of exciting for this topic.
I should have a quote from that book to read.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, I must say, right, because I've gone on about how amazing this book is. I'm not sure about the angel bits in this book, but the other stuff is amazing, guys. So if the spirituality doesn't 100% line up, you can push that to the side, but there is some really great scientifically based stuff in there. And one thing that I think yourself and I have worked on a lot, Jess, is becoming, you know, more in a state of being where we are radiating and therefore attracting a state of abundance and wealth creation. And I know that you and I are on the same page that when we talk about wealth, we are definitely talking about money. Wealth is not a dirty word, people. But wealth to me is success in all areas. So wealth, having rich friendships, rich relationships, you know, rich in health, rich in adventure and joy in your life. To me, that is wealth. And, you know, we need to radiate that for ourselves to bring more of that into our life. And, you know, one thing that I've had to work on a lot is moving through negativity and lack of gratitude and frustration and anger and past hurts, and you know, when you're bogged down and weighed down with that energy. And I'm sure we all can think of that one person that we know that is such a neg ferret that bad things always happen to them, right? Versus, you know, when those people that we know that always seem to get lucky, or you know, and they're the people that have so much positive energy that we're always attracted to and drawn to. So as I'm saying that, you know, just have some self-awareness of who you are, and more importantly, who do you want to be out of those two. So Jess, I'm just going to hand it over to you, and I know you've got lots of content prepared around this topic, so
awesome.
Go for it. I'll keep an eye on the chat over on Facebook.
Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to let me know. And thank you again for having me on. I love being a regular guest on your Empowered Women's Call. It's just exciting to get to chat to more people. And for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a mentor and a coach, and basically my whole aim in life is to help people to move from one space to another and just realize their full potential. And the only reason I can do that well is because I've done it for myself and I'm continually growing. And I think it's super important to let you guys know that, because I know that when you watch things like this, you often tend to put people up onto a pedestal and go, oh, well, you know, Kira and Jess seem to have it all together. And how did they get to that place? One thing that's so important to know is that every single time you grow to another level, another challenge comes. It's part of life. And so the only reason we can teach and we can speak so passionately is just because the universe chose to give us challenge, and we rose to the occasion and went, okay, let's see how to learn from this.
And we're continually working through challenges, trust me.
100%,
Like,
100%.
we cry a lot to each other. We don't have perfect.
Yeah, and that's something that I really want to talk to you guys about today is I suppose sharing a few stories with you, first of all, of my own personal experiences. And then what I'm going to do throughout this call is give you some really good questions to ask yourself, give you a little acronym that you can kind of start to live by when looking at how to raise your own vibration and attract better energy and relationships into your life. But one thing I really just want to frame this call with is I really want you guys to make sure that you're not just focusing on what you want to avoid when listening to this, but more focusing on what you want to cultivate. Because where your thoughts go, your future goes. Where energy goes, energy flows. We've heard these things before, but the truth is, guys, is that when you listen to calls like this, if you are a person who is automatically, and we've all been this person, don't worry, but someone who can tend to look for the bad or look for the problems in life. I was actually having this conversation with my daughter this morning. We were on a beach walk, and she's like, oh, look at the rubbish on the beach. And she was looking for the bad. And I said, honey, don't look for the bad, look for the good. So if you are one of those people that knows that sometimes you can go down that road a little bit, I just want to frame this by saying really focus on what you want to cultivate versus focusing on what you want to avoid, because it's going to be easy to listen to this and say, oh, well, there's all these terrible people in my life and it's all this bad energy around me and I want to get rid of that. More importantly, I want to encourage you to think about what you can cultivate. So a little bit about me and my story. For anyone that has followed along with me for a while, you guys already know that I'm incredibly passionate about being mission driven and having a vision for the future that's really, really clear. So having certainty and having clarity and having that purpose and that vision and that place that you're aiming to go is super important for me. And that all started for me with working through a mission statement and really getting clear on what I wanted out of my life. And a part of that process for me was really important was my relationships. So connection, experiences, having fun, they're all really, really high on my values list. And to be honest, the more people that I work with and the more people that I coach and mentor and that come to my retreats, the more I find a lot of people value very similar things. When it comes to love, connection, fun, travel, those are things that people really, really value. And so when I started looking at how I wanted life to be versus how it currently was a couple of years ago, my life was never in a really, really terrible state. It wasn't that there was one big thing that was going wrong or, we all have our ups and downs, but there wasn't anything particular. But there was definitely, especially probably 3 or 4 years ago, for me there was, and I talk about this with people so often. I know you can relate when I say this. There was nothing wrong, but there was something wrong. I just never felt content. I didn't feel in flow. I didn't feel at ease with where I was. I didn't feel excited for the future. I felt like I was just going through the days, getting up, doing the things, going to sleep and repeating. There was no vision. There was no why. None of that existed at one point for me. And so when I started to really cultivate what I wanted for the future, and that comes down to awareness, comes down to giving yourself time, and it comes down to saying, you know what, there are some things I'm going to have to do now in order to get to a point where I'm clear on what I want out of my life. Because number one, you can always focus on what you don't want, but getting clear on what you do want is where you can really start to evolve, and where you can really start to then consciously cultivate and create the life that you desire. And so I started to look at my relationships, my friendship circles, the things I was doing on the weekends, day to day, and I started to look at what I wanted to cultivate for the future. And so a few things came into my mission, and I went to work on writing down how I saw my relationships. And so for me, I've always referred, when I talk about my friends, as my chosen family or my soul family. And this, I know, is something that Kira's particularly passionate about as well. I think the first year we knew Kira, we were at her house on Christmas Day, I'm pretty sure, because I was always looking for friendships that were more about the depth than the length. And so that was something I was really, really conscious of in my 30s, especially after, having these. And I've still got my best friend of, 22 years, who I absolutely love and adore. But when you get to a certain age and you have kids and you do all these things and you start to evolve, you realize that you can have a connection with someone so quickly when you're sure of who you are and when you understand what you're about, and you're really conscious about the vibration that you are putting out there to the world and the energy you put out there. And
can I just speak into that just quickly, because I'm really passionate about this, is that there's always that one or two best friends that you usually will carry with you through life because they are like family. Yeah. But I think it's really important to release the need to have certain people, best friends, whatever you want to label them, in your life forever, that they're glued to you forever. If you're wanting to become someone, if you want to uplift yourself and you've got people in your life that are dragging you down, pulling you back, or who don't want to be left behind, like one thing I realized over the years, and I've self-assessed this, is I do release people from my life fairly easily if it doesn't serve me. And I've realized, and I self-reflected, is this a bad thing? Is this a good thing? I really do think it's a positive thing. If it's not serving my future and where I'm going, I feel no need to carry baggage with me that isn't serving where I'm going. So I think you've got to take a, what do you call it? Like a, mum break. But there's certain friendships in your life that maybe right now that you need to release, and you don't need to feel guilty for doing that. If you want to attract, there's friendships in my life where I literally wouldn't be who I am today without these people, because they just inspired me into my greatness, supported me into my greatness, and continually inspire me to be even greater because of their level of vision and growth. And if you want your life to change, you have to surround yourself with like-minded people and be willing to let go of the past. You don't need to keep bringing the past with you.
Yeah, 100%. So what I did is when I started looking at ways I wanted to craft it, I was conscious of those things. So I let go of that thought process from my 20s of that, friendship means a long-term thing, and I focused on depth of friendship. So these were things that I was writing into my mission statement and doing meditations on and consciously thinking about, because as I said, where your thoughts go, your future goes. So when you think about it, you're like, well, how do I show up in this world in order to open up opportunities for me to meet people? Now, putting your head down and walking into a cafe with your phone in your face is probably not going to be a really great strategy, for example, if you are looking to find like-minded people, or to find someone that is potentially there to really shift and change and evolve your family and your friendships and your relationships. So I put down things like, I want weekends away with my girlfriends. I want people to shout me coffee and dinners, because I never used to get that. So I put all the things that I had ideas for. I want to be able to give lots of gifts. I want relationships that are such a give-take thing. So, what do I have to do in order to attract that into my life? Well, I need to start becoming someone who's more giving, someone who has more time. So it wasn't just about what I wanted or what wasn't there, but then it was, how do I show up in order to be able to attract in that same type of energy that I desire? And the truth of the matter is, you only attract what you're willing to look at in the mirror, right? So the people in our lives at the moment are there because they're mirroring something for us that we need to learn. And so, Kira, when you talk about, sometimes moving on from friendships, I definitely think that's a really good thing to bring up, because it's not always just about moving on. Sometimes it's actually about realizing that people are there to mirror where you're at. And so you're not just moving on from them, they're potentially moving on from you as well. And you're just finding different mirrors. You're just finding different places to find what you require. I had a great example of this. I'd known a girl for a really, really long time, and there was a period, and I know she won't mind me talking about this because she's a psychologist and an amazing woman, but she was a bridesmaid at my wedding, and, we were friends from the age of 14. And then there became a period where it just wasn't, we just weren't aligning. We were just in different spaces and we weren't really trying for each other. I never closed the door on that friendship, but there was definitely a level of honesty that had to come through as to why we weren't seeing each other as much. And we did have to have a little bit of a conversation around the fact that maybe we just weren't in the same space. And it was probably a 3-year gap. And then just recently she had a beautiful baby girl. And then we came back together. Now we're both mums and we have some new things in common. And the relationship has just gone from something that was a long-term friendship through childhood and 20s to this gap to now something that is growing at an exponential rate, because both of our energies have changed. Both of our vibrations are higher. We've both learnt so much with the time apart, and now that we've come back together, it's been a really rewarding thing. But yeah, so a little bit about that is what I wanted to get across there was I started to really craft what I was looking for. And whenever you are doing that, again, it's not about looking for what's wrong in other people. It's about asking yourself, well, how do I show up in order to get it? It's just like if we're looking to lose weight or if we're looking to build wealth, we don't look for the problems, we look for the solutions, right? So we look for, okay, well, I'd like to build some wealth, so I need to start a savings plan, or I'd like to lose some weight, so now I need to figure out how I'm going to tackle what I eat every day, or how I'm going to move my body more. The same thing goes with your experiences and your relationships. You've got to have a game plan. You've got to figure out, well, how do I consciously cultivate it? Because that's honestly the only way you can, is doing it yourself. So there's a few good questions that you can ask yourself if you are feeling like things aren't lining up for you. And I know this is such a common thing where people will say, oh, it's like I'm a good friend and they're not good friends to me, or it's like everyone's taking off me and no one's giving, and all these different expectations that we tend to have from friendships, family members especially. And so there's some really, really good quality questions that I would love for you guys to write down and potentially answer for yourselves as well, because I know that when I work with people, it's not just about listening, it's about doing something. It's about physically going away and saying, all right, I'm actually going to look at this and I'm going to make some conscious decisions up here around where I'm not doing things the way I need to in order to get the result I would like. So a really, really good question that I continuously ask myself is, what old ways of being have expiry dates? So we always have these old ways of being. So old ways we show up for friendships or in our relationships with our parents. But that every time we get to a point of frustration, there's normally a little nudge from the universe saying, okay, well, this way you're showing up has an expiry date. It's time for you to make some change. You need to start showing up differently. another thing that we often carry, and another thing that I find a lot of people really struggle with is, especially when it comes to relationships and friendships, but in general, in life in general, is we'll have one or two really strong limiting beliefs or stories that we need to eliminate in order for us to move to that next stage. So a great example is with a parent. You might get to a certain age. Now, I went through this week, and I'm sure my mum won't mind. Well, she doesn't even know, but poor mum, she can deal with it later. But I was thinking to myself this week, gosh, I wish like my parents would come and help me with the packing. But then obviously that was an old way of being, right? When I was 20, maybe it would have been okay for my parents to come and help me with the packing. But now I'm 35 and I'm a grown woman and I've got financial stability and I can pay someone to help me with the packing. But I felt this old self creep in where I was like, I could feel like the poor me baby Jess coming out, the bratty, privileged, entitled kid Jess come out. And and mum said something today about going for a walk, and I thought, oh, I'd love to have time to have a walk like that. You know, like I could hear all this chatter going on in my head. And I immediately realized that was an old way of being. That was an old state that I'm actually not really happy to be in anymore. And so it was a great learning tool. And obviously, the more conscious you get, the more often you will realize when these things come up. But if you're looking to have a better quality relationship with a parent, then you've got to be aware of how your thoughts are playing out. Because the truth is, my mum owes me nothing. I'm a grown woman and they shouldn't be lifting boxes with me. But that was a belief system that I was carrying from a young age that I need to move on from. So
and our beliefs can cause like the most pain in our lives, guys. When you can become aware of your frameworks cause you to be inflexible. And that was such a great example of you just having an expectation on an old belief that isn't serving you, but also not serving your relationship, because like you said, your mum actually owes you nothing in that department. But when you're not conscious and aware to pull yourself up on these thoughts as they're occurring, you get stuck and inflexible in these frameworks, and they're quite damaging to yourself and your relationships. Just while you're on that topic of family, there is a question here. What if it's family members that drag you down or don't serve you, but you feel obligated to see them, otherwise you're being seen as rude? How do you deal with this challenge?
Yeah, I've been through this a lot with my clients. So that's a great question. There's obviously a very big picture to that for me to be able to answer that specifically. But we all have family members that we perceive are dragging us down. Now, let me be clear. Abusive family members, those types of things is a completely different story. But in terms of people that are dragging us down, the truth of the matter is, again, it's our perception on reality. It's our decision how we choose to see those things. And it's also our choice whether we want them to drag us down or whether we go to work and we figure out a way to find gratitude and appreciation. And trust me, I've worked with hundreds of people on this, and I've seen so many of my clients literally go, oh, wow, like I cannot believe that I've been just carrying this bullshit all the time when really there's so much goodness. So I actually posted about this the other day, and it's a great tool. If you have someone in your life that you feel is dragging you down, or if you feel there's a situation that you can't get past, is write 20 to 50 benefits of having that person in your life. Now, finding gratitude is easy to find gratitude for running water and sunshine, right? We're alive. We don't live in poverty. I'm so grateful for my life and my house and my kids. That's base level gratitude. Real gratitude comes when you are grateful for the people you really freaking don't like, when you're grateful for the people that are weighing you down. So if you believe that it's impossible for you to remove that person from your life, it might be your mother-in-law. That's a common one we hear a lot about. Then it really is up to you to take responsibility and to go, well, look, I get to choose how I see this situation, and it's either going to debilitate me and cause me pain, or I'm going to look for it. And you might need to get to 50 benefits before you find one you truly believe. But when you find it, then you tap into what they're bringing to the table, and you tap into showing up so much better and raising your own vibration, so that that won't bother you, because to be honest,
they can't bring you down if you maintain your vibration. And that's my goal. If I have to go into a situation where, I feel perhaps it's not a positive space to be in, I really just focus on being the light, bringing the light, be the influencer. Yes. Because if my energy is higher, I'm going to influence their energy rather than them influencing mine. And I would say the other key piece that I would add to the gratitude is compassion. Because, when there were people who were challenging me in my life, and what I realized was I was having expectation on how they should behave rather than really seeing them. And everyone, just like yourself, is carrying wounds from their past. And particularly when it comes to, if you have challenges with, parents or mother-in-laws, like you said, grandparents, they're from a time and a generation that have significant wounds that are very unconscious and very unhealed. And so they really are just wounded children. And when you can see them that way, because you wouldn't judge or feel brought down by a 5-year-old's response to a challenge, right? A tantrum, or you would love them anyway. You'd have compassion for their level of awareness. And that's been incredibly healing for me, is realizing that everybody's wounded and everybody's just doing their best with the capacity of their consciousness at the time.
And the ultimate truth of the matter is, like, it's great, Kira, what you've added there, and compassion is something. But the thing is that a lot of us struggle to get to that space, especially when we're at the beginning of our journey, our personal development journey. A lot of us are like, no, fuck that. I don't want to be compassionate. I don't know how to, but you don't understand how much they've hurt me. Yeah. And you couldn't possibly understand it. You've got compassion for your mum, but she wasn't as bad as my mum, or whatever it may be. Again, this all comes down to looking back in the mirror, taking the personal responsibility and saying, well, do I choose a life full of people who trigger me and bring me down? Or do I actually choose to find the best in everyone? And trust me when I tell you that when you get to that point where you are so emotionally balanced that you don't get all of that, you don't get fired up, you can just see through that. And I know that's what you mean by compassionate, Kira, is being able to get to that point where it's not just I'm going to be the best I can be. It's physically ingrained in your heart that that's who you are. Mm. And that is a beautiful space to get to. That's the vibration stuff. So that's where it's base level versus internal level, where you're like, I feel it in my heart. Mm-hmm. And I was actually just, answering the door to a delivery lady just before, and she said, because we're moving house, and she said, oh my gosh, you guys aren't moving, are you? And I said, yeah, we are. And telling my hubby that I was coming on this call, and he said, she's so nice. I said, I know, we've got such nice delivery drivers. And I said, it's all about raising your vibration, isn't it? Because honestly, the people that she barely knows us. She's probably delivered to our house 3 or 4 times, but I genuinely believe that it's because the energy I put out there and the presence and the ability to look that lovely lady in the eye and give her a smile and do those things. It's coming from inside, and it's how I choose to show up. And trust me, over time, people will come up to your level, but then there will be those people that maybe aren't capable of it, but they definitely won't push your buttons anymore, and they won't have the capability to get under your skin. Because one of the best quotes my dad gave me was, kill them with kindness. And it was because I was in customer service, and I used to say, when I say customer service, I worked at Domino's Pizza, let's be real, but it was customer service, and people used to yell at me on the phone when their pizzas were late, and Dad's like, just kill them with kindness, Jess, because if you're nice, people can't be rude back. And he was 100% right from the base. And
it's your choice to change your state as well. Like if hubby comes home in a bad mood, it's your choice whether you allow that energy to change your state, or whether you choose a higher vibration and be the person to influence.
Yeah. So another couple of good questions you can ask yourself is, when you're trying to cultivate new friendships, new relationships, and new experiences, is what am I saying no to, or what should I be saying yes to? So there are so many times when we don't feel like going out, or we don't feel like doing something, and we need to push past those things if we actually want to create that life we desire. So saying yes to more things that serve that picture in your mind of what you want to cultivate, which is something I really do highly suggest you guys go and do, is create that picture in your mind, is start writing out things like I told you before, my weekends away and people offering to help me and having depth in relationships really quickly. That was something I focused on. And this year it's just shown up 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just come to me in so many different people. People that literally I could cry tears of gratitude for, because I'm like, how did this person come into my life? And then I go, that's right. I asked for this. I showed up for this. And so you just need to get clear on what's important to you, and then start saying yes to things that are going to get you in the right places. Now, that may be looking for things to say yes to. It may be going to different activities, like different yoga classes or different mums groups. But honestly, sitting at home and saying no to lots of things doesn't cultivate the opportunity for friendships and relationships and experiences to come your way. And then another really good question, and this is something that I think is a super important part to this, is what are you currently addicted to in your relationships? Now, this is a question a lot of people don't want to answer, but some of the things you could potentially be addicted to within your family or your personal relationship with your partner, husband, wife, is drama, for example. So some people do get addicted to the things they don't like. It sucks, but it's part of life. So some people love the drama, so they'll consciously or unconsciously they will look for ways to push their partner, because then that'll cause drama, which will give them attention, for example. So if you're not getting a lot of attention, you might cause a fight, which will then cause you to get attention, which will then mean you can go and get more cups filled over with the friends, and they can all do the pity party. And so we can get into these really negative cycles in our relationships. And so it's a good opportunity for you to step back and say, is there anything in the current relationships that I may not be 100% happy with that I'm addicted to? Is there anything in there that is causing me to keep going back for more? Because I know that I spoke to someone the other day, and her one was feeling left out. So she loved to reinforce feeling left out. So she would show up shy and she would sit in the corner and not talk a lot, and then go, I'm always getting left out. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're addicted to the feeling of getting left out, because then you can go home and tell your husband that you got left out again, and then whinge about that, and then you can go and buy yourself something to make yourself feel better. It's a cycle that she was addicted to, right? So it's hard to see through what we're doing, but it is definitely worth trying to observe and become conscious of that. So I created a little acronym. I've never created one before. I'm quite proud of myself. It's called Swatch. So Kira's going to post it in the group later. But and so you don't have to madly type, but you can if you want. But this is kind of my top kind of 6 things that you can look through when you're struggling with raising that vibration, and because we always go back and forth. We TikTok and we go up and down, and we have good days and then we have bad days. So these are some of my top tips for really trying to cultivate friendships, relationships, and experiences, and really raise that energy and that vibration within yourself. So the first one is to shake off comparison and judgment. So this is a huge one. I see people so often just getting into a space where they are so super overtaken and consumed by comparing themselves to people or judging people for not showing up the way they would like them to, that they're not able to raise their vibration and their energy. They're too caught up in comparison and judgment. So a great way to shift and shake that off is in the morning or in the afternoon, is to just write and observe how that's come up for you during the day. Super easy. The second one is want the best for those around you. So wanting the best for those around you means that no matter if someone triggers you, no matter if they're your best friend or the mother-in-law you don't particularly like, or the person that drags you down, wanting the best for people is one of the biggest gifts you can give to others, but also to yourself. So I know that in my past, I used to kind of get jealous of my friends, and I used to feel that competitive comparison nature come in. And it's so much nicer when you can genuinely go into a conversation with a friend. And this is something that my best friend of 22 years does very well, is she asks questions. She's always the first one to say, how are you? What's happening with you? Tell me what's happened this week. She asks a lot of questions because she genuinely seems to want the best for other people. And I freaking love it about her. You know, when you open up the dialogue with the people around you to ask them how they're going and to genuinely care, do you think that that is going to cause people to want to do the same for you? Of course it is, right? So you think about your mum and you think, oh, she should be asking me how my day's going or how my packing's going or whatever it is. And then you think, well, when was the last time I wanted the best for them? When was the last time I genuinely thought, how is my mum going? How's my brother? How's my friend down the road? I haven't seen her active today, or I haven't heard from her. I'm going to see how I can check on them and want the best for them and make sure all of my friends are raising. Because trust me, again, this is energy. This is vibrational energy. You have to exude what you want to attract. The next one is appreciate the friends you have. So if you have just sat here listening to this and gone, okay, there are 3 or 4 people I'm giving the flick to immediately. I want you to go and write them a letter of gratitude. You don't have to give it to them, but write them one and appreciate people for why they're in your life. And some of the reasons you might appreciate them is just because they're great fun. They're fun to dance with. They cook you good food. They babysit your kids. They make you laugh. They're there to listen to you bitch about your husband. They could be there for different reasons. Or they could be there as teachers. So if you have problems with trying to appreciate something in someone, then you probably need to look for the lesson they've helped you learn. And that one is amazing. So I love looking for ways that the people around me teach me things. Because sometimes I might look at a friend and be like, I really don't like it the way she does that. I wish she wouldn't do that. And then I think, oh, how can I really learn from this? How can I appreciate the friends I have? Because trust me, if you think that just going out and finding a new set of friends is the answer, it's not. You've got to first raise your vibration where you're at, where you're currently at. Second one is the fourth one, take responsibility for your actions. Again, if you want to cultivate beautiful vibrations and energies into your life, then ask yourself, how do I take responsibility for my potential responsiveness or my reactiveness in situations? How do I level out those emotions? How do I go to work on creating what I want? So write out what you desire for the future. Ask yourself those quality questions. And if you haven't done that, and you're probably going to need to watch this back, but if you haven't done that, then take responsibility and then don't bitch and moan in a year when you haven't created what you desire, because if you're not willing to take responsibility, things will never, ever show up for you. Trust me, this has been my year of taking responsibility and learning so much. I've been pushed against the wall that many times until it's been literally, it's shown up in such harsh ways where I've had to go, okay, it's time for me to take responsibility. So it's not a fun thing to do, but it's absolutely vital in terms of growth and in terms of having an abundant life. Check in on your intentions. So again, when I go into every situation, this is something that you learn when you become more conscious, when you meditate more often, when you have a clear mind. You can check in on what your intentions are for that day, for that event. So you're about to go to a lunch and you're feeling a bit off and you go, well, what are my intentions? Now, some of them we've already mentioned. Want the best for the people around me. Be a good listener. Take responsibility. Appreciate the people around you. Taking all of that into account and knowing what your intentions are day by day versus just flying through life and then having an argument with someone and not having any intention to give them love is just, it's going to fail for you time and time again. And the final one is have an open and loving heart. They kind of all meld together, but I did a podcast on this last week and, going into every situation and asking yourself, is the way I'm actually behaving right now making other people feel more love? Is this exuding love? Is this showing love? Is this a loving action? Even in an argument, there is no point in getting riled up about something if you're not using your heart. If you're just using your head and you're cutting out this midpoint here, it will never ever serve you. So when you go and say, how do I have an open and loving heart in every situation? Trust me, the world is your oyster when you start to do things like that. So to kind of finish up, and then I'll answer any questions as well. But a lot of people are going to say, well, Jess, this is great, but how do I do all that? Because that sounds really easy, right? But how do I get to that place where I don't compare and I don't judge, and I'm happy for everyone's success, and I'm clear on my intentions? And how do I get to that place where I'm fully responsible for my own actions? Very simple. And you guys, if you've been tuning into Kira and her Empowered Women calls now for a while, you'll start to notice some common themes coming up, because the truth of the matter is personal development isn't brain surgery. It's just consistency. It's all it is. It's just picking up where you left off, and every day just trying that little bit more to get to the point you desire to be at. So I love the word consciousness, but what that really means is just being really present and being really open to receiving information from the world around you. So if something's going wrong, don't just say, oh, it's going wrong. Ask yourself, well, how do I show up better for this? How do I change this? What's something I can do today to avoid this happening again? Nutrition and drinking lots of water is absolutely vital when you're trying to raise your vibrations, when you're trying to attract better people into your life. Trust me, if you have ever, and Kira and I did a mental clarity diet for 3 weeks, and I noticed a huge difference, and I don't even eat that badly. So if you're someone who eats a lot of takeaway and drinks soft drink and really doesn't care for their health, then one of the easiest ways to start becoming more conscious and clear is to clear your insides. And Kira, I know you had an amazing chat last week with a professional in health so go back and watch that one. But just the simplicity of adding like a simple smoothie into your day, or a green juice, and just 2 to 3 liters of water will start to help your mind clear up, because the fog that we feel isn't all just emotional. It's very much physical as well. Meditation and breath. So I know a lot of people struggle with meditating, but it is very simple to just sit down and be conscious, be present, and breathe in and out 3 times, and just get back to a place of love. Simple tools. Another one that I suggest is have a detox from technology. Decide, like, if you're feeling off and fuzzy and in comparison and in judgment, shut the phone down for a day. Notify anyone who needs to know that you're going offline. Stop scrolling, and not just scrolling, but just get the phones and the technology away. Go and find someone who can give you some great hugs. Go and put your feet in the water. Declutter your home. These are all things that weigh us down. These are all things that get in the way of us raising our vibrations, right? You come home and you look at your phone, and then you've got shit everywhere, and you don't know where anything is, and you haven't touched the actual physical earth for a few days with your bare feet, and you're going, I don't understand why I feel like this. I don't understand why I'm so uptight. And then you've got all these people around you dragging you down. No fucking wonder, right? Makes so much sense, yet a lot of us aren't really following through with giving these ideas a go, a proper go. Movement, get your blood pumping. Again, Kira is an amazing source of inspiration for this, but you can literally do push-ups, squats, planking, walking lunges, star jumps, whatever you need at home. Move your body when you are feeling flat, when you are not showing up as the person that you desire to. Move your body. Get into a state of love and gratitude. At every challenging situation, try as much as you can to do that. I know it's hard, and it gets easier the longer you do it, just like drinking the green smoothies. They taste terrible at the start, but they get better as you go. Be kinder to people. So if you're looking to raise that vibration, again, don't you just love people who are generous? Don't you just love people who turn up like at dinner parties with flowers or a bottle of wine or whatever it may be, or a little card just to say, hey, thanks so much for having us. Now, I'm very blessed because I tend to get little things from people a lot, and I love it, but I also really focus on trying to also display those random acts of kindness out into my world. Now, whether that's the cleaner or the lovely lady at the door who's been delivering our mail, there's so many easy ways. I sent a letter of gratitude to the kindy teacher the other day, and she literally, and we have had this relationship where I've found her annoying for a long time. And I had this moment where I went, Jess, you teach this shit. Write that bloody lady a letter of gratitude. And so I sat down and I focused on my thanks and my gratitude, and I sent her this letter. And I got this, this message back through our app, and it said, you don't understand how much of a hard day I've been having, and the fact that this has come through. And ever since then, our relationship has changed. She gave me a big hug the next day when she saw me. She's giving more and more love to Leo than ever before, and she was already doing an amazing job as it was. But again, random acts of kindness, being nicer, that will raise your vibration so high. It's just, I almost feel silly giving you guys this advice, but the truth is we get into the day-to-day, the hustle and bustle, the stress of paying the bills, the relationship pressures, the family pressures, the dramas that come along. And trust me, I've got all of them. I could roll down the list of things I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and you wouldn't be able to see the end of them. We're all the same. But really asking yourself, well, how can I be kinder today? One or two things a day is not hard. It doesn't need to cost you any money. But trust me, this is when people start going, that Jess girl's nice. Maybe I should invite her to that thing, that day when she sent me that letter or whatever it was. And saying no to things that are draining you. So if you feel that something is going to drain your energy, then just be okay with saying, you know what, I'm just being really conscious around where I'm spending my time at the moment, or I've got a few things that are taking priority, and so I'm just going to have to pass on that. And then replacing that with something you can say yes to. And then I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's my list done. So I hope that's given you guys some really useful tools. I'd love you to write that list out and start to check those things off every day. Life in general doesn't need to be overwhelming. Raising vibrations, becoming better at giving out the right energy, it doesn't have to be something that's overwhelming. And I know that for some people it can seem that way, especially when we're in our dark moments, or when we are, like I say, struggling to just get that phone bill paid or do those simple things. Life can feel very overwhelming. But trust me, these how-tos that I finished with are all free to do. They're absolutely easy. It just takes time, and time is something we all have. It's just a matter of how do we utilize that time in order to create the life that we desire. So that's
Love
all.
that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I was just having a chat with a really cool person I'm going to feature on this call. We're going to focus on some relationship stuff coming up, and it just occurred to me in this phrase. We're so focused on what we're not getting every day in life, in our relationships. Hubby's not doing this. The kids are doing this to me. They're not doing that. My mother-in-law is doing this. She's not doing that. We're so focused on what we're not getting rather than focusing on what we're not giving. And I think when you go first and you show up, like you said, and you become that generous giver of your energy, when you focus on bringing more light to your lives and to others' lives, when you bring more love, when you bring more generosity, when you bring more gratitude, when you bring more flexibility, when you let go more, even when you're talking about decluttering your home, like more and more this year, I've decluttered my house. I think this is the 5th time I'm doing it. And there's getting less and less stuff in my home. And I am absolutely just like, the more I do it, the more free I feel, the lighter a burden in my life I feel, the more I feel that I'm letting go of stuff defining me. And I just feel like that is raising my vibration as well. So it is a journey. It's just, and this is where, like, you talk about your mission statement at the beginning, is that your vibration and the energy you're putting out there is what is attracting to you. So when we want to change our lives and we want to have these things that Jess spoke about, when you read things like a mission statement, and I've even got one in my shower that reminds me, how can I bring more light? How can I bring more love? How can I be more graceful today? Those daily reminders and, feeling it as you're reading it, that changes your vibration so that you can attract those things into your life. And that's why it is important to spend a moment each day either meditating, reading a mission statement, you know, whatever around that resonates with you, being grateful as if it's already occurred. These things really make a huge impact. And I think it's so easy, don't you think, Jess, for people just to write it off like, oh yeah, that mission statement thing, I'll do that one day, or like, just can't say how powerful it is.
I cannot suggest it more. And I know a lot of people ask us, you know, how do we do this? And yes, there's a process, and some people want to go through the process with somebody, but other people don't, they can't, whatever the case is. But the best advice I can give is just write down how you wish your life to look. That's a great starting point. And so when I started writing, and specifically around my relationships and my friendships, I wrote more weekends away with my girlfriends. And literally the next week, one of my friends messaged and said, hey, this might be weird, but should we invite this new friend and we'll go away? And I was like, of course, sounds great. Things started happening. You know, I wrote in about concerts and different things. And then what do you know? We start going to concerts together. We start doing things together. It literally is, it's very important to be aware of what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, then you're really just you're on a train going nowhere, right? Like,
yeah, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up nowhere. One of the other things I love about my mission statement is I do believe it is manifesting, but I also think that it realigns me when I'm off track. So, you know, this has been a very challenging year, and there are days where I get bogged down again in the negative thinking, the frustration, you know, like I'm still healing. And so that's an up and down journey. And if I didn't have things like my mission statement, or friends who, you know, you want to find friends who have that balance of being there to listen in those moments that you need to vent, but who can also go, okay, enough now. How are we going to change this? How are we going to move forward? How are we going to be resourceful now? Like, what's the next step forward? Rather than, oh yeah, like, you know, and getting I realize I become self-aware of, like, I get sick of myself. Like, okay, I've been in this negative pattern for a couple of days now, and I'll read my mission statement and remember, I want to be graceful. I want to be strong. I want to be loving. I want to bring light. And being in this state is not serving me, but it's also not serving my kids. It's not serving my friendship. It puts pressure on your friendships when you're in those states, you know, over and over again. So it realigns you. And the other thing that your mission statement does is it reminds you to say yes. So, you know, within my mission statement is to have more joy, more fun, more adventure, be more flexible, be more free. So when offers of concerts and things come up and the easier answer is, oh no, right? You go, no, hang on a minute. I'm this fun, free, adventurous version that wants more of that in my life. So I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. So you don't write things in that are currently happening. You write things in that you want to be happening. You write things in that you want for your future. So even we're moving into a house tomorrow, a new house that's bigger and better, but in my mission statement has nothing to do with that house. It's got to do with the next house. So you're always looking ahead. You're always looking to things that aren't currently going on for you. But the great thing about all of this is that when you write out and you have that mission and you have that vision and you're being really self-aware, what happens is when you read it every single morning and when you take that time to be conscious, to eat well, to meditate, to do all those things, your brain starts to ask yourself really good quality questions. So if you wake up and you watch the news every morning, do you think it's likely that you're going to start stressing about the state of the world? Of course you are. I never, ever stress about the state of the world. Not really, because I'm living in present moment, in present time, being here right now versus all these things. Now, I'm not saying don't watch the news, but for me, I don't, because I find it drains me. I'd
say don't watch the news. It's not a reflection of reality anyway. They're choosing what they want you to see.
100%. But, you know, there was something the other day that was saying that teenagers were having anxiety about the state of the global warming situation. And I'm like, great, now we've got kids that are getting anxious about things that are being taught no tools around how the heck to just live for now. And so you want to get your brain and your vibration into a state where you start to just naturally ask yourself good quality questions. You read that mission statement, you read about friendships, it's obviously going to force you into doing more of the things you need to do, to saying no to other things, to being more grateful. Those things come naturally. And even with my business, people say, oh, well, how did you do this or how did you do that? And I'm like, well, it was all in there written out. It was all there, what I wanted, what I'm creating. I change it all the time, but it's not just about reading it and going, well, I'm strong and I am brave. It's about physically reading things that are that little bit far-fetched, that aren't happening for you right now. Like the weekends away with girlfriends wasn't happening previously. So you're putting things out there that aren't happening, that aren't quite in that realm of possibility yet. And then what it does is it takes you into action of, well, I can't just sit here and manifest this stuff. I need to then take action on a daily basis in order for those things to happen. So every time I think about the next home, the one that we're building, the architecturally designed one, does that make me want to waste my money on things or keep my money aside? Makes me want to keep my money aside. It reinforces things for me, reinforces to be organized with things, reinforces that, I have something in there at the moment which says I act with, where is it? I think it says, I work as though I am under time constraints, because I'm not under time constraints. No one tells me what to do. I'm my own boss. So I need that in there because I need to act as though I'm under a time constraint. Again, that forces me into being more organized, and that means I have to be really conscious around the friendship time and the work time and the family time. And so it's a powerful thing to be conscious of where you want to go in life.
And talking about, because it was like the thing when you're talking about the friendships and the relationships, a lot came up around like husbands and difficult family members. Even, and for me, like the example that I literally have in mind is how I want to show up in co-parenting, because obviously that's a area of potential friction for, forevermore. And so I remind myself every day how I want to show up in that scenario, which obviously then influences the outcome of the experience. And I can only control me. So if you're having difficult relationships, reminding yourself every day how you're going to show up is because you only have control of your actions, but you showing up with more love, more light, that does influence the outcome.
And I was going to say the only way to show up is this helping that person and me feel more love? Like that's the easiest answer to most problems. Mm-hmm. Because and I've only learnt this through my own challenges. My husband and I have had our ups and downs. We've had lots of family dramas. We have lots of things going on in our life, just like everybody does. And I just was always searching for this like key thing that could get me out of that space when I wasn't showing up. And it really was just, is this helping them feel more loved? And is this helping me show more love and be loved? And that's a very hard place to get to sometimes. But trust me, it is always worth it, because you never have regrets when you show up lovingly. You never have those guilty moments and all this headspace that consumes you of what should I have done and how should I have behaved. It's like, I know I'm standing in my ground. I may have wanted to give them a slap over the head, but I didn't. I showed up with love. I helped to try and give them love, and that is such a beautiful gift to give the world, to be honest.
Yeah, you always win when you come from a space of love. And sometimes the love is love for yourself and removing yourself from a situation.
Yeah, of course.
And other times it's you influencing and helping and coming.
Yeah, but being level-headed and doing it in a loving way, no matter whether you have to go or stay or whatever it may be. But yeah, I hope that's helped, guys. I think
there's been lots of awesome comments over on Facebook. Thank you so much again for your time. So much valuable content. You guys can go and follow Jess over on Instagram as well. Her name is just Jess Schembri, or The Abundance Hub. Is that right?
Yeah.
And don't forget to share and tag, and I will be sending out this to you, Jana, this week, and I will do the draw again next week as well. If you have any questions, then pop them over on the live on Facebook, and we'll jump over and have a look there as well. Next week, actually on the Tuesday, we will be at the races, I've just realised. So there will be no call next week because we will be having lots of fun with our amazing group of friends. But stay posted because I have lined up a really special guest, and I haven't figured out what day, but perhaps that will happen. It might need a hangover day on the Wednesday. Maybe that'll happen on the Thursday. But, you know, what I love about the stuff that we're chatting about here is it's all that resourcefulness stuff. And by the way, anyone who wants help with the mission statement stuff, I've got a recording over on my YouTube for how to write it. But the other stuff behind what we're talking about, which you can go and watch previous calls, is doing your own inner healing work so that you're not projecting your wounds on others or having those expectations on others to fill those holes within yourself. So that's the other thing to really look at when we're talking about this stuff, because you are unconsciously putting out vibrations into the universe, you know, when you have these wounds that perhaps you're not aware of. But they're definitely shaping your future. So any last words that you wanted to share before we sign out?
I had a quote and I'm like, where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I had a quote from Gabby Bernstein, actually. I was like, this was a great one. I was either going to start or finish with it. It's so simple. It's just what I believe I receive. Mm-hmm. And it's just a beautiful, short, simple one to remember. So what you believe you receive, go forth to the day and ask yourself, what am I choosing to believe? What am I choosing to see? Where am I looking for the light? Because if you look for the light and find the light and you find the love, then you'll receive it back.
And there's the gifts, and this, you know, this week, like I had a huge response to a post that I did the other day, and it's around, you know, those greatest challenges or the people that present the most challenges. You know, if you believe there's a gift in that, you know, there absolutely is a gift. If you look for the light in every dark situation, in every challenge, you know, the people who have hurt you the most, these people are your greatest gifts and your greatest teachers if you choose to look for it. Believe that you're a high value woman. You will have a high value experience in this world. You will get the gifts and lessons along the way so that you can have a higher value experience. Thank you so much, Jess, and we look forward to having you on again in the future.
Guys. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing day.